I gave a talk at 274 Techstars accelerators called Power of the Network. So how to navigate relational capital for funding, talent, customer acquisition, knowledge share, and mentorship. So whatever ideas you're generating right now, how do you build that out? To give you a little bit of my background and experience, I actually built my own company in Web 1.0 in 1997 using sports as a way to cut through marketing clutter. I did it in Nashville, Tennessee. And if I would have brought you back into Nashville, Tennessee in 1997, you wouldn't have built a tech company there. Um, Maybe New York and San Francisco. But the vast majority of people didn't understand scaling a kind of like a venture-backed company or the approach to building a tech company. And it was that was a seminal moment for me. It's actually one of the reasons I'm here. You're not my primary audience, but I love what you represent. So I piggyback two talks together. And by the way, I spoke in Cincinnati yesterday. So like I'm just kind of moving down and I get to go home and sleep in my own bed tonight. But if I flashed you back to that time, I didn't have access to mentors in Nashville when I was building that company. I didn't have access to venture. There weren't other tech companies that I could connect into. It was an incredibly lonely and mentally taxing experience. And it was also a little bit of a cognitive dissonance because I would tell people in the Nashville area I was an entrepreneur, and they would look at me like I was unemployed and say, like, "Bless your heart," kind of thing. And like the fascinating thing is, like, we were selling $1 million programs to Jim Beam and Dixie and Sylvania and Pepsi, like success on that end. Just no understanding of the importance of entrepreneurship and the community associated with it. Entrepreneurship was still kind of a dirty word. What I love about this room is you represent the maturation of the entrepreneurial journey and the support through community to create opportunity for people. So flash forward to 2007, 2008, I'm named Director of Alumni Career Services at Michigan State University. Um, the university was using it as a way to generate fundraising for the institution. So if I helped somebody get a job, the idea was they would give money back. What happened in 2009? Global recession, right? The worst recession we've ever seen in our lifetime. I was not set up for success or scale in that role. I was an office of one. We had 460,000 alumni. Overnight, I went from like 100 calls a week, helping me find a job to thousands a day. And in those moments of chaos, innovation happens. I ended up building the largest college or university LinkedIn group in the world, and in it, conditioned through content, how to navigate Job Search 2.0, how to develop an effective personal brand. On the opposite side, all these people were looking for jobs. I had to source opportunity. So I went to our CEOs, our owners, our partners, and said, hey, if you have a job, help out this community. And the idea was Spartans helping Spartans. And think about any of your universities, it's the same idea. And by the way, if any of your universities use that, I was the one who created that. So they owe me money. But the beautiful thing about that is it started to create this idea of an affiliation to create opportunity. And interesting thing about doing that kind of innovation, when it stands out, people will come and seek you out. I ended up getting recruited by LinkedIn, first on contract and then full-time employee. Ended up on the product team that developed all the university initiatives. How many of you have a LinkedIn profile? How many of you have a university on your LinkedIn profile? We did that, right? We mapped all longitudinal career data to that. How many of you have been to a university page on LinkedIn? How many of you have been to the alumni tool? It shows all alumni. So that was named after me in development. Our developers used to follow me around on talks. They called it affectionately John Hill in a box. That's my baby. When you build something global, and by the way, I'm not the smartest person in any room I walk into, but I do believe that you want to surround yourself with the people you want to be. When I helped build something global through LinkedIn, it gave me the audacity to believe I could do it again. And it taught me one of my, I think my biggest long-term skills is the more you jump off cliffs, the more the ground comes up to meet you. I think all of you right now are jumping off a cliff. It's a smaller cliff, but it's still a cliff by being here, right? This is the muscle memory to create. One day I get a call from this organization called Techstars in 2014. They're like, hey, we're a venture capital organization. We do accelerators. Take 10 companies through a 13-week program surrounded with mentors and investors, spin them out in the world. We take equity as part of the process. We think we can build what a university does, like an alumni network similar to a university. We think that you might be able to help us with that. It was a completely audacious idea that you'd create emotion through what was historically transactional venture capital, but they did it. They ended up creating the largest entrepreneurial network in the world. That was my role for 10 years. From 2014 to 2024, I cross-connected 43,000 founders, mentors, investors, corporate partners, community leaders on and offline. In that role, I was also driven to support ecosystems. Founders are the same everywhere you go. It's the environments around them that are different. And I ended up speaking in 43 countries. To date, I've spoken at 249 universities, supporting the idea and concepts around entrepreneurship and how to navigate this effectively. When you marry that experience with Techstars, with what I did at LinkedIn, I can show you how to navigate relational capital for those primary experiences: funding, talent, customer acquisition, knowledge share, mentorship. So I'm going to go super tactical in a second, but I live the brands I represent. And like, it was just maybe 10 minutes ago, I realized I currently work at a company called Whop.com, WHOP.com. We're trying to democratize entrepreneurship. But I'm wearing my jacket from LinkedIn from back in the day for higher education. And I'm wearing Techstars socks. So like, I got all the brands covered right now. And by the way, this hat is trying to focus on the good in technology. It's developed by a guy by the name of Dave Mayer, Technical Integrity, who's associated with Techstars in Boulder. And so, and I don't think there's enough positive messaging going out in the world right now. So if I can be a living brand for that, I don't mind it. Obviously, I look like a NASCAR driver right now. So let me take you through a LinkedIn walkthrough. But I want to stop on one more thing. When I was that director of alumni career services at Michigan State doing that work, I also realized the economy was broken in the state of Michigan. And I tried to support the efforts to create another leg through innovation and entrepreneurship in the state to support the economy. I started a nonprofit. There were about 60 of us statewide that joined that. And we brought the first Ignite, the first TEDx to the state of Michigan, started the entrepreneurship program at Michigan State University. I ended up in the Governor's Council to support innovation, entrepreneurship, and venture within the state. But like, the seminal moment for us, like, we had a stamp of approval that we were on the right track. We brought the first Startup Weekend to the state of Michigan. And so, if you wonder why I'm here, they're not paying me. At least I don't think you are. Like, this isn't my primary mission for what I'm doing. I'm working with the universities to track and train students building digital businesses. But you represent the best of the world, the people who want to take that chance to create something. The talk I'm going to give, there are extended versions of it on YouTube. So if you do a search for John Hill Techstars, John Hill LinkedIn, you can see more of this. I'm going to customize it to you. So this is an interactive presentation. As we go along, we can use the companies you're building right now to showcase how to navigate it. I'm going to give you some resources on the back end of this. And so we'll just start firing away. You can connect with me after this. I want to support every one of you if I can. I'll give you my email address on the back end of this. So just remind me, because sometimes I forget. But let's start with LinkedIn. Like, the premise that although there are 1 billion people on it, the vast majority of them are not on it strategically, and that includes all of you. There's a reason for that. LinkedIn's UI UX sucks, and somehow through time and OKRs, they've made it suckier. And I'm a former spokesperson for LinkedIn, and I'm telling you that, right? And part of it is the way that they navigate you on the platform. If you go to that search box up and to the left, I hate that search box because it's an iterative search. It tries to think about what you want. That's not actually how our minds operate. We operate through filters, through affiliations. So it's geography, it's vertical, it's community, right? And so there's a better way to search on here. And the irony to this is their original site navigation, which still exists, was better at that than this is. So if you come up to connections or my network and you go to connections, hey everybody, and you go to search with filters, this is the old navigation on LinkedIn. It was a drop down, people, jobs, companies, groups, back in the day. Still exists, it's awesome. What I love about this is it defaults to all first level connections. So it starts to showcase the amplification of relationships. I was super lucky to be at LinkedIn when Reid Hoffman was writing a book called The Startup of You. He was doing research on the most effective relationships you have to navigate the job search. And what he found was 85% of job opportunities through relational networking come out of not who you know, a first level connection, but who they know, connection of connection. I'd surmise your business development, your sales, your talent, your investment opportunities is not about who you know, it's about who they know, connection of a connection. So using that as your world, your amplification, I can actually use this platform to represent that. So I have all first and second level connections now in my network. People I know and people they know, where the vast majority of opportunity is. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to give you 3 lead lists that you all have. And by the way, you can bring your laptops out. I don't care if you follow along with me. That you all have in your respective networks for fundraising. I'm going to give you 3 lead lists for money that you have right now. What Reid also was able to showcase, and this didn't get into the book Startup of You, or at least I don't believe the premise of it did, is that there are certain affiliations that are more likely to move messaging from a first level to a second level. So quality network here. The number one affiliation we all have as far as relationships are concerned are friends and family. The challenge with friends and family is a lot of times their networks aren't aligned with what you do or big enough to help you out. Give you an example, like I'm VP of Story at Whop right now. I was the network catalyst, the VP of network at Techstars. I was the higher education evangelist at LinkedIn. Like my family doesn't even understand my job titles, let alone how to help me out. So the second most powerful affiliation, which is why they created the team that I ended up being the face of, is university affiliation. So this is student to student, alumni to alumni, student alumni back to institution. Any of you from outside the US? All right, so in the US, emotional connection to university attainment, we wear our letters of our universities on sweatshirts. Rest of the world, it's transactional. But if I went to INSEAD, which is arguably the best business school in the world, Fontainebleau, France, 30 miles south of Paris, and do a funding run in San Francisco and run into somebody else who went to INSEAD, invariably it's going to broker a conversation. So the whole premise of what I'm about to show you is how do you bring the barriers of entry down to connect into the people at a second level who are most likely to help you out. All right. Third is shared work experience. So friends and family, universities, shared work experience. How many of you have worked before? Right, a rhetorical question. Please don't raise your hand or I'm worried about this experience. Fourth is anything you do to support yourself professionally. So these are groups that you're connected to, associations, events like this. The challenge with that one is there's a ton of variability there. So if I show up to an event, it's more of a low affiliation. If I run it, it's a high affiliation, or an association or a group, it's a high affiliation. So variability. But those first 3, one of the things that you never learn about with networking, people say network to create opportunity, whatever. But they never tell you what that actually means. Relationships are formulaic. Friends and family through LinkedIn, through the research that we did, moved messaging from a first level to a second level 3 out of every 4 times, 75% of the time. University affiliation was 1 in 3, which means if there are 3 people who work at Google who went to your university, expectation through data is one of them will respond. Shared work experience was 1 in 4. Give you a good example of that. I worked at LinkedIn with some of the most incredible people on the planet. One of our product leads became a good friend, Christian Sutherland Wong. In 2022, we held an annual event that we had at Techstars called FounderCon, where we brought all our founders together, 1,000 people in San Francisco. And I had Christian come and speak about culture. He's now the CEO of Glassdoor. right? So that's leveraging shared work experience to create that opportunity. So it's giving you a view of what I'm doing here. All right. So we're going to take this same principle, and then I'm going to start asking you questions that will start to limit our search. If you have 1 billion people, and by the way, I have 3.4 million connections at a first or second level, I need to bring that down to a smaller amount. So let's start with one of your primary needs. Building a company, what is about the best thing that you can get early on to help you scale it? For customers, or maybe with customers, but it's more important than that. Money, right? Who has money? Investors, right? So the taxonomy on LinkedIn actually represents the venture space. It's imperfect. The taxonomy for industries within LinkedIn is based on what are called NAICIS codes, they're the old SIC codes. They're a government designation by industry used for tax purposes globally. So every country in the world uses this, which is why they used it for their representation of industry. This is perfectly imperfect, and I'm going to get into this in a second. But I can look at everybody who's associated with the category of venture capital and private equity at a first or second level. And so, this is list upon list, a ton of people. I'm not going to go through all those people. So I'm going to bring this down to a smaller group. Somebody pitch me the company you're building right now. This is the interactive portion of the presentation. Go ahead.
It's an application that uses experience-based connection to bring adults together that have a hard time forming relationships.
All right, so it's B2C, right? It is relationship oriented? Friendship oriented. All right, we'll play around with that. So it's a network is what you're creating. All right, so for all of you, if you're trying to reach into somebody in venture, you want to find out what their thesis is. So what kind of companies do they invest in? And they'll use words to dictate that. So what I want to find are who has the words B2C, who has the words network on their profile, or let's do friendship because it's even more esoteric. So B2C, this search is a Boolean search. So you can use quotes plus and or whatever, right? But it's naturally a reductive search, and it searches the set that I just did. First and second level venture capital. I can now look at everybody, and we'll just start with B2C. And these are all the people in my network at a first or second level who have written the word B2C. So it's searching written word on a profile. Now I can take it a step further, friendship, right? That's very specific. And I can see anybody who has written B2C and friendship in venture capital at a first or second level. And here are all the people. Where are we at right now? Physically, where are we at? Chicago, right? So if I want to test this out while I'm sitting in your startup weekend, invite somebody over. I'm looking for Greater Chicago. It's the larger MSA. Where'd you go? Oh, there we go. Here are the people who represent B2C and friendship on their profile at a first or second level. Man, there's a lot of them. Oh, it dropped venture capital. So I no longer work here. Sometimes they break things. That's not my fault. So you have to play around with this a little bit. But yeah, that's a much smaller set. Here are all the people in Chicago in private equity at a first or second level with B2C and friendship on their profile. I can see how I relate to each one of them. That's the microphone drop. I can just go on to the next event. You can keep doing this. Pretty cool, right? Right? I just took 1 billion people down to your idea and brought them to a geography, connected in a space that's one of my primary needs, funding, right? And if I look at that, like say, oh man, these are all good people. Wendy Lee and I did an event in Cincinnati in 2016, bringing the largest tech event, FounderCon, to Cincinnati. She was the head of the fund of funds, Centrifuge. She's now part of the initiative that went against Illinois in Colorado for quantum computing and creating that for the state of Colorado. She's connected to Mina. Like I could text Wendy, and by the end of this talk, she would have already made the introduction for me, right? Don Loeb was my boss at Techstars. He was the head of business development when I was first hired in. I was on stage with Don about a month and a half ago. If I asked him to connect me with Marquise, he would likely do it. So here's the trick with the communication there. The mistake that most people make is their first first communication with a investor is asking for money. If you've done that, you've failed. You want to build the network before you need it, so it's there when you do. And so you want to start to scope out the people who can help build out whatever endeavor you're doing. Start to build a relationship earlier on. Asking for money is weighty. The better way to go is to ask for advice. So for instance, Wendy, it's been too long. We've got to catch up. Love you to death. I see you're connected to Mina. I'm trying to build this B2C experience right now, hovering around friendship, which with me, she would believe. And wondering if you could connect me with Mina. And with Mina, I'm not going to ask for something weighty like money. I'm going to ask for advice. Advice is a great door opener. And so with Mina, hey, I'm building this company. It looks like you have the background that is experienced with this. Wonder if you take a few minutes to talk to me about that and like how you ended up in the space connected to it and what we're doing right now. In that 2-sentence structure, you've done two very powerful things. Positioned her as the expert in herself, and you just asked for a piece of emotion, not something that's tangible. Now, if you get into that call, you ask that piece of advice, you end the call, you don't ask for money out of that at that moment, you then actionalize that advice. She's giving a piece of emotion to you. The more you ask her for advice, follow up, continue to have that conversation, the more she starts to see you as the most important thing for venture capital, which always needs access to deal flow. You become qualified deal flow. She knows you, right? And so the best introductions you'll ever have to an investor are other people in your network who have been invested by that investor. But if you can get in through the advice lens, that's an internal person giving emotion to you. Every time they give a piece of advice, they're giving a piece of emotion to you, right? Super powerful. All right, so this was one. This was through structure, taxonomy. What's another name for a type of investor? Angels, right? Come down from heaven, drop cash on you, like awesome. There is not taxonomy for angel investors in this search. So you have to use keyword search as part of the process. So if I come up here, I'm looking for everybody who has written the word angel investor. Hopefully not spelled it wrong. So this is the whole group of people. It's about 80,000. I'm going to take it down to direct connections and connections to connections. So our amplification, first and second level. What's another company you're building here? Go for it.
Supporting government contracting, making it accessible to small and medium business owners.
All right, so SMBs, GovTech, right? Very specific words. So angel investor, by the way, putting it in quotes, it takes the whole phrase, so those words next to each other. If I come here, GovTech, not something that you could drop down and select. This is something written on the profile, right? I now have all the people representing that. SMB, small, mid-sized businesses, right? People who have had that expertise. Here are the 3 people who represent that, right? You cannot get more specific than SMB, which is an acronym to a specific group of people, and GovTech, which is just not even a real word, right? It's 2 words smashed together. And angel investors within my network, right? And again, I can see the people that I connect to that. So Wendy Erickson is a consultant in higher education. I had her in our offices at Whop as we're scoping out what we're doing and build a product. But if I go up, Roderick Miller was the head of innovation for Puerto Rico when I first met him. He's an ecosystem developer. So he understands on the ground what it means to operate through government, EDCs, EDAs, and work with small businesses. I know he's a credibility lens into Vladislav, right? Because of who he is and how I've interacted with him in the past, right? So I can sort of validate some of the relationships that I have based on the connections to those people. Cool? Now, by the way, if I saw Roderick was connected to a bunch of people in government tech, he's a good person to mobilize as a brand ambassador for what I'm building. Build that relationship, make it one of your top relationships. One of the things that I find is interesting on people building companies is they don't necessarily map out the most important relational capital that they have in front of us. Who are the 100 people who would move the needle if they knew about what I was doing? And then map on how to get into those people, right? So you do strategies around product development or go to market, but you're not doing strategies around relationships, which are arguably the most important thing emanating around any of your ideas, right? So I start to identify those people, get their URLs on LinkedIn, see how I'm connected to them. By the way, a little trick that I did when I was hired into Techstars, there were about 20 high-level investors that I wasn't connected to at a first or second level, so I didn't have relationships in between. I copied their URLs on their LinkedIn profiles and put in a tickler file for once a month just to click on each one of their profiles, who's viewed your profile, one of the most voyeuristic things out there. At the end of the year, 14 of those people had connected with me. I took no other action than clicking on their profile and looking at them, right? So there are like really unique, interesting ways that you can navigate the people here. All right, let's go into universities. Somebody raise your hand. What university do you go to? DePaul. All right. So I, by the way, have just given you lead lists for investors, both on taxonomy and search. We're now about to do it through university. That's 3 lead lists for investors that you all have in your network in about 12 minutes. DePaul University, we mapped out all longitudinal career data for every attendee, graduate, current student on DePaul. This is John Hill in a box, alumni. Do you know all the people who are VC that went to DePaul? This does. So I come over here and I look at where they work, where they live, what they're skilled at, what they studied. If I come down to what they're skilled at and I type in venture capital, I now have a list of everybody who went to DePaul who's in venture capital. Are you part of the same team? All right. So how many different universities are on your team? All right, so think about this. You have 5 different lead lists you can use for just this company, right? But I can now look at everybody from DePaul. You're horrible in this example. Let's try SMB. There we go. So, and their search is broken because it says 3, but there are actually 9. But these are all the people who have written SMB on their profile that went to DePaul that are on LinkedIn. What was the expectation through university outreach response? 1 in 3. So I have an expectation of getting through cold outreach 3 of these people to respond, right? And just to prove out how strong university affiliation is, because you probably use this not as effectively as you could. Think about, are all of you, has anybody not graduated from a university here? Anybody a current student? All right, for all of you, think back to high school or secondary school or the school you went to before this. For everybody else, think back to students who went to your university. If one of those people were to reach out to you and say, hey, I want to learn a little bit more about who you are and what you're about, I want to learn about your experience with the university or life after university. By show of hands, how many of you would take that call? Right? And if you don't raise your hand, you're going to hell. I don't have that power and I'm Irish Catholic, so I'm going to feel guilty about that for the next 24 hours. But the point is, most of you raise your hand, right? That's what we're tapping into. You're leveraging the same thing. Barrier of entry, bringing it down. So these 9 people could help me through DePaul or whatever respective universities you went through, right? And what I'm doing is I'm amassing a lead list of the people who are most likely being able to help me out. All right, so I just gave you 3 lead lists for funding in about a minute. We're gonna just shift to talent and then customer acquisition, which is why they brought me to speak here to begin with, but I wanted to cover this as well. Go for it. Yeah. You want me to walk through it again? No, it's like magic. I only do it once. No, I'm just kidding. You're at UNC Chapel Hill? All right. Chris Mumford is one of the guys in the Entrepreneurship Center there I know Chris, I'm good friends with him. He's awesome. All right, let's go up here. Oh. Man, they don't make this easy. Just a second. There we go. All right, same thing. Alumni, right? You can also click on the university on your profile. It'll take you to the same place. And then here are all the alumni. And so like I did venture capital, but by the way, I can also look at anybody who's in a family office. I can look at anybody who is an angel investor. I can look at, anybody in corporate investment or whatever. And again, I can see who those people are and how to relate to them, right? Pretty cool. All right, let's go to talent. So at Techstars, I worked with 4,000 companies. I met one-on-one with all the CEOs, did talks, Power of the Network, and all those programs. Just by the way, the numbers out of that, 460 of those companies exited. Largest exit that we had was PillPack, which was acquired by Amazon to become their online pharmacy for $1 billion. We invested in TJ and Elliott when they were 2 people. The largest success story that Techstars had was SendGrid. So if you use Uber, Airbnb, you get a receipt on the back end. It's SendGrid that sends that. Isaac Saldana was the founder we invested in. Awesome backstory. His family was originally from Mexico. He went to live with his aunt and uncle in LA, first generation university student, first company to go public out of an accelerator, got acquired by Twilio for $3.1 billion. One of the things that I want you all to know, I've been in front of people like you again and again and again, and I've watched people go from this room to $1 billion exit. I've watched people go from this room to going public, ringing the bell in New York, right? So like that audacity to suspend disbelief and do something that nobody else in the world has done or do it better, as a gift, keep on doing that. One of the interesting things about talent specifically, I was at LinkedIn, I was in career services. I love talking about talent to see what makes companies tick. The first 20 hires at almost all of our companies through Techstars, unless they were intentionally distributed, came out of founders' networks. So there were people they knew or those people knew, first or second level. It's kind of funny how it dovetails with what I'm talking about here. Generally, your first hires come from wherever you're building. So we're in Chicago today. Probably Chicago is your backyard. Think about your ideas and your makeup of your team right now. Are there any skills on your team that you would love to hire or like focus on a first hire? And this is obviously hypothetical. You're in the process of building a company, but think about like what would be cool to hire if you could. Name a type of person you would like to hire to help build the company that you're scoping out right now. A growth hacker? Okay, cool. That's a good one. And you're part of the GovTech team too? Okay. So SMBs, right? So I can use both general search, where we did angel investor, do growth hacker in quotes, take it down to Chicago first or second level. I actually love to look at like the pipeline for talent within a market. So for instance, little school down the road, you guys have Troy Henikoff coming here, right? Do you guys know, is Troy coming to speak to you all? I think he is. I think I saw him on here. He's like one of my mentors. He's one of the most brilliant people. He teaches at Northwestern. He did Math Ventures. He actually started the Chicago program that got acquired by Techstars to become Techstars Chicago. So like you have Troy Henikoff coming in? Yes. Oh my God, that's awesome. Literally one of the smartest humans I've ever come across. So he'll be hanging out with you. But the school he represents, Northwestern, a ton of respect for. The garage is one of the best spaces on the planet for startups in the university ecosystem. Mike Robb, some of you may know. Actually, I've had him out at Whop before. He's awesome human. Yeah, tell him I said hey. So if I click on this, I can look at all the people who currently or in the past went to Northwestern. I can do this for DePaul. I can do this for UIC, right? I can hit all the schools in the area. I'm going to look at people who live in my network. Chicago. So 65,000 people who went to Northwestern. I'm going to look at people who are in my network. I could do first or second, but I'll just do second. And then I'm going to start to look at people by what they're skilled at. See if SMB comes up. That's incredible. So, or I could look for people who do growth hacking, right? Here are the 7 people that represent growth hacking that went to Northwestern that live in Chicago. I'm turning you into headhunters right now, right? So if your talent's going to come out of network already, you might as well search what talent is available for you. Now, if I reach out to one of these people, there are 3 things that they can do. Number 1, absolutely nothing. I did this over a cup of coffee, right? Does that hurt me at all? No. Number 2, not interested, but I'll share with my network. Who are they networked with? Other growth hackers. 3, I'm interested. You just qualified a lead through network, right? You're doing it anyway. You might as well be strategic about it. Pretty cool? All right, customer acquisition. Tell me somebody you're trying to sell into. The bigger the company, the easier. We've been playing with SMBs, but I'll take anything. Do you know anybody? Any? Yeah, I don't either. We could do Accenture. What do you got? AIG? All right. Oh. Yeah, company. Circle? Are you trying to sell into Circle? Are you? All right, what are you trying to sell into Circle? All right, so you're doing evaluation. So you're looking for HR, operations. All right. Oh, evaluation for their agents. So like who would be your decision maker? So AI engineers is what you're looking for at AIG. All right, pretty specific, right? All right, let's do the customer acquisition stuff, and we can go deeper. So like I'm not going to hold you to just that. So let's go up to AIG. We're looking for company. Is this the right company? Okay. All right. So cool thing, like similar to universities that we just looked at, LinkedIn took all employees and mapped them to employer, right? This is the original thing they did. This is how they became a resume CV, right? And so I have all the people who work at AIG. Now, if I'm going to use this for customer acquisition, the first thing I want to know about them is what makes them tick. What do they talk about? What do they care about? So this little life button is fascinating for that. It would be there for Accenture as well. When you get to the smaller businesses, they have to pay LinkedIn for this, so they're less likely to have it. So go to the jobs that they post and see how they do the job description. But if I click on this, they're going to do testimonials, videos. They're going to have employees talking about what it's like to work at AIG. The reason they're doing this is they're trying to attract talent to their company. So their competitors, they're trying to use words that differentiate them from their competitors, values that differentiate themselves from their competitors. They're telling you how to speak their language. Use those words back at them for pitch a product and service, right? Or application for a job into the company. They're telling you what words matter, right? Cool. Now, if I'm selling into AIG, and this works really well for the SMB folks, I want to look at companies that are similar to that. If I come here, I have people also viewed. Here are the 20 companies that are most similar to AIG based on user patterns within LinkedIn. That's a lead list for 20 sales. Say I'm selling into HVAC companies in Naperville. If I sell into one and I do this, I have a lead list of 19 others that I could sell into, right? So super powerful there, but most important, it goes back to the relational mapping that I've talked about all along. If I come to people, they took John Hill in a box and applied it to every company 3 years ago. And so now I can see all the people who work at AIG by where they live, where they studied, what they do, what they're skilled at, and I can start to see my network. So all the people I connect into. And then I can see those people who are in my network, are they skilled at the thing that I'm trying to connect into? And here are the 8 people related to artificial intelligence that work at AI or AIG, right? And how I relate to each one of them. So I can start to pinpoint a decision maker and map to that relationship. Pretty cool? All right. So for me, I'm finding the decision maker for each one of these companies that I'm like trying to connect into. All right. So how many of you have seen the movie The Departed? All right. How many of you have seen Good Will Hunting? Similar thing. I was born in South Boston, so a Boston kid. Where Good Will Hunting is, my neighborhood was called Stabbin Hill. It was affectionately known as Stab and Kill. South Boston was like the nicer place where Matt Damon lived. But in The Departed, Leonardo DiCaprio gets out of prison. He's in his cousin's kitchen with his aunt, and then on the front porch. Those were filmed in my grandmother's house. I'm an inner city kid. In the inner city, knowledge is everything. Like knowing what's happening, the communication, the connection, the insights that you have, super powerful. I'm a huge fan of doing due diligence on anybody that I'm trying to engage or connect with. And the best people to give you insights are people you know that used to be affiliated with the organizations you're trying to position into. So like if I'm doing customer acquisition for AIG, I'm going to click on this little button that will bring me to that original search. And I can see everybody who currently works at AIG. I'm going to go down to all filters. I'm going to take all of these out, and I'm going to look at people who used to work at AIG. What school are you at? Yeah. All right, UIUC? Yeah, okay. So now I've got AIG used to, and I can look at all the people who went to University of Illinois, and I can take it down to first or second level. Now I have a list of 5 people who used to work at AIG. And by the way, I could do artificial intelligence on the search on this, right, to see if anybody fits that description. But these are people who used to work at AIG that went to the same university I did. If I reach out to one of these, they'll tell me the right people to connect to, the right approach, the right process, because they're more affiliated with me based on university affiliation than they are shared work experience, right? You want to get in the back door of organizations to sell what you're doing. This is the approach you take. Cool? All right, has this been slightly eye-opening to you? Man, LinkedIn has fallen down. They should be teaching you guys how to do this. I got to get paid more. All right, so if I jump back to the beginning, a couple different tricks. You pitch product and service to somebody, they look at your profile after you pitch product and service. What does it tell you? They're interested. You pitch product and service to somebody and somebody else in the company has looked at your profile, but they were not in the meeting. What does it tell you? Talking about you. Really good, spectacularly bad, I have no idea, but they're talking about you, right? Little indicators, like that's what we're trying to play off of here as much as possible. I have a large network. It works at full capacity when I take care of it, when I water it. Most of you are just in time on relationships. It's just like kind of how nature is, right? And think about it from the venture perspective. Like I need money, I focus on investors. I get that money, I focus on talent. I get that talent, I focus on operations, right? You shift and you start to forget these things. Try to be intentional with your connections. I go to notifications every day, Monday through Friday, and I'll probably do it today because I'll be on a plane later. I try to take 20 actions in my network. So if somebody has moved from one location to another, I'll introduce them to people I know there. If somebody's been hired in the company, I know other people in the company, I'll introduce them to the people to support helping them out. If somebody's celebrating something, I don't hit the like button or comment. I'll send them a direct message on another means, cut through the clutter, and talk about ways we could support and help each other out, celebrate what they're doing. I do that 20 times a day, Monday through Friday, 100 times a week, 5,000 times a year. I'm celebrating something that somebody's doing in their network or supporting them out professionally. I do it just in time play. I actually did it I dropped a rental car off at Midway and I was able to get 3 out before I got here, where I send messages to people in Chicago who I know I'm not gonna see and just say, hey, I'm thinking of you. I'm here thinking of you. That's it. They don't even have to respond, right? I probably do that another 3,000 times a year. At the end of every year, I write 100 handwritten notes to people impacted and affected my life professionally the year before, talking about ways we can help each other out the next year. Handwritten notes are gold. Cut through clutter. I've been doing that for 20 years. Be intentional with your relationships. Take care of them. Water your networks. If I ask any of those people to support and help out any of the entrepreneurs I work with, because I rarely ask for myself, do you think they're likely to do it? Probably, right? And for me, it's more intuitive. Like, I do it because it's who I am. But it's a great trick for all of you on navigating relationships going forward. LinkedIn, 2 years on contract, 3 years full time. Lived in Menlo Park. My wife worked at Stanford when we were there. It was awesome time. And then I got recruited to Techstars. Techstars built out the network. They asked me to do some unique things. One of them was partnering with Blackstone to do an initiative with their launch pads, which is part of their For Good initiative. They were giving money to university entrepreneurship centers, which happened to like pair with where their LPs were. So like it was kind of for good. But the students who were being supported weren't getting what they needed out of Blackstone, because Blackstone's good at money. They're not good at working with early stage companies. So they partnered with us to bring in our events, our structure, our support. And as part of it, we ended up taking the best knowledge we had out of Techstars, our accelerators, the best speakers, and we created a repository of videos by topic for every company that was being built. It took me a year to get Blackstone to agree to not gate it so that it was accessible to the world. And fortunately, I won that. So this was the partnership, but this is what the result of it was. This is toolkit.techstars.com. All of you can access. There's no gating. You don't have to put email or anything. It is a series of structural things, foundational, that we think you all need to build a company, or Techstars did. And to give you an idea of the people who are behind this, any of you see that the National Women's Soccer League just broke an attendance record in Denver? There were 64,000 fans to watch the opening game for that team. The person who raised $200 million to bring that to Denver is Nicole Glaros, right here. Nicole was one of the first hires for David Cohen and Brad Feld through Techstars. At the time of filming this, she was probably the leading female angel investor globally. She's a juggernaut. She's seen probably 40,000 companies pitch, and she's teaching you how to pitch effectively. This is good secondary stuff for you to have. How many of you know what KPIs are? All right, so you either go the OKR route or KPI route, or maybe a combination of both. On the OKR side, there's a guy by the name of Rick Clow from Google Ventures. Look for him on YouTube. He's got great stuff, and he's an awesome human. But in KPIs, the best speaker in the world who's structured this out and written a book about it is Zach Neese. And here he is step by step on how to create metrics around the company that you're building right now. So this is building block stuff with our best speakers that we're giving out for free, right? Or Techstars was giving out for free. How much longer do I have? About that time? So I've got like a half an hour more. All right, so I'm gonna wrap in a second. I wanna take you into Whop real quick. By the way, if any of you are looking for startup jobs, I built this. This is jobs.techstars.com. There are currently 8,000 jobs available at startups in the Techstars ecosystem. But I am currently at Whop. We're a digital marketplace that allows anybody to build a business. We're free to set up on. We take payment processing on the back end at 2.7%. We have about 5 million people a week coming into our marketplace. We now have a little more than 20 million users. We've had 160,000 companies generate revenue, about $3.2 billion in GMV. We hit $1 billion GMV 3.5 years quicker than Shopify. We hit 10 million users a year quicker than LinkedIn. We are representing where the economy is going, where you're shifting from finding a job to being a job, where you can showcase skills and expertise to create what you want. My role here is to get into university entrepreneurship centers, to work with them to track and train students building digital businesses, and more importantly, to help them create a sustainable income in an environment that is increasingly more difficult to navigate to find a job. My ask for all of you, like I just gave you just a boatload of knowledge to support and help you out, is introductions to some of your universities so I can talk to your entrepreneurship centers. I'm currently working with 122 universities. We have about 4,000 students who have built companies on our platform. They've generated about 6 million, and we've only been at it for a year. My goal at the end of this year is to have 100,000 students building and 1,000 universities, and I think we're going to hit it. My email address is jh@whop.com. So jh@whop.com. And I just really quickly want to show you what we're doing. University of South Carolina has 190 students who are building on our platform. They got into this because we were in their curriculum. Students in Darla Moore School of Business got on Whop through the course of a semester, learned product market fit on a real business, generated $2,600 in revenue on the back end. We're now doing the general e-ship classes at Michigan State and Indiana, 350 students at a time, which is super cool. The other thing that we're building is experiential activities like this. So 3 hours, build a digital business, get prizes for the best storefront, best business idea, first customer. We're doing what we call Whopathons. We've actually built the structure for this, and you can see the universities we're working with. This is whopathon.whop.com. And to give you an idea of the businesses, because all of you can create one as well, this is 3 med students who built a company on our platform called Pre-Medly. They're teaching undergraduates on how to get into med school. They're teaching them about the MCAT. They've created a community around them. They're doing webinars about the difference between specialties or allopathic, osteopathic medicine. These are current med students making $140,000 a year on our platform. I have a 19-year-old who loves gaming, who created maps for Fortnite. Other people are like, hey, can we build maps for our gaming? He developed Map Academy. He's generating $100,000 a year right now. I have a traveling nurse who's aggregating traveling nurse jobs on this platform, work she's going to be doing for herself anyway. She creates this as membership experience. She's generating $4,700 a month doing work that she would be doing for herself anyway. I would love connection to any of the folks that you have so that I can give more exposure. For you all have a level of expertise that you could monetize. I'll give you an example. One of my best buddies lives down the street from me in Boston, built a company that generated 10 million ARR, which sounds like a lot, but on the venture side, it's not. But he's an awesome human being. He is the best person I've seen customize HubSpot. So he can build videos about customizing HubSpots for startups, put it on here, set it and forget it. It's in our marketplace. People are looking for that experience. They can pay for it. Super cool. We also do physical goods on this. And so you can do any product and service to sell within this platform or decouple payment processing to mom and pop shops, bricks and mortar. And again, at 2.7, we're undercutting a lot of the big players within the market. So I share this with you because this is the experience I'm doing now. By the way, I came here because in a given year, there were about 64,000 companies that were investable by Techstars YC 500 plug and play. That was the TAM for us in 2019. There are 8 billion people on the planet. And if the economy is shifting, if the economic graph is shifting from finding a job to being a job, you have to enable people to make money via technology, all people. And so what we're trying to do is democratize entrepreneurship. I appreciate all of you. Go back to the principles I went over. Build a network before you need it, so it's there when you do. Build a quality network. And I gave you the approaches to do that. But most importantly, keep jumping off cliffs. Have the audacity to think differently than other people. Dream big. I've witnessed those people going from rooms like this, ringing the bell in New York. Follow suit. Anything I can do to help any of you out, don't hesitate. I'm about to redo this again in about 45 minutes. So thank you all. Bye.
Give it up for John.